Rickard, are we ready?
We're ready.
Council Huddle? Staff Jesuit, are we ready?
Betcha.
Thank you all. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everyone. Commissioners meeting, general meeting, January 6, 2021. To my far left, I have Director Rickard, pronounced Rickard, it's a cool name. Just so everybody, it's easy to mess that up, and we can help him out there. To my immediate left, Curry County Commissioner Christopher Pash, myself, Court Boyce, Curry Commissioner. To my immediate right, welcome John Herzog. To his right, County Counsel John Huddle. To his right, Staff John Jesuit. In the audience, we have Roadmaster Christensen, we have former Commissioner George Rhodes, and we have the press represented by Matt Hall. Again, welcome all. Our agenda today, instead of doing, if I could take just a couple minutes here, instead of doing the casualty report, I will have a full 2020 recap. Sad news, but glad 2020 is over, and we're sure hoping that the line of duty deaths for police officers, for our military men and women, for our firefighters, that number comes down dramatically in 2021. This is a case, former Maryland police officer is pardoned by President Trump, and she had an opportunity to speak out, so I want to read what she had to say. It starts with, "This means the world to me." It was Christmas Eve, just a few days ago. Stephanie Moore was a rookie police officer in Prince George's County in 1995. A member of the K-9 unit, she and the dog she worked with responded to a call in an area plagued by burglaries. Another officer had spotted two suspects on the roof of a store. Moore released her dog on one of the suspects, Ricardo Mendez, an illegal immigrant who subsequently would be convicted on federal narcotics charges. There was conflicting testimony as to why. According to one version, Officer Moore released the dog after her training officer sought and obtained consent from the officer in charge of the scene. According to the other version, she did so on her own because Mendez ignored repeated instructions to follow police orders. 5 years after this incident, the Washington Post ran a series of articles alleging police brutality in Prince George's County. In the meantime, Moore had become something of a star in the K-9 unit. She earned 2 awards for meritorious service and 25 letters of commendation. Her superiors lauded her assistance in bringing down burglary and homicide suspects. She helped provide personal security at President Clinton's second inaugural gala. Some pronounce that gala. She was the first, in this particular community, the first female K-9 officer. Bear with me. However, as a result of the Post series, the FBI launched an investigation that soon focused on the K-9 unit. The investigation led to an incident of Moore on federal civil rights grounds for the 1995 incident. She was charged 1 day before the statute of limitations on her alleged offenses expired. Moore pleaded not guilty. The officer in charge of the scene pleaded guilty and testified on behalf of the government at Moore's trials. Her training officer pleaded not guilty and was acquitted. At the first trial, Moore was acquitted on a conspiracy charge and nearly acquitted on the civil rights count. Reportedly, only one juror held out for the conviction. Normally, that outcome would have ended the matter. However, the government elected to retry Moore. At the second trial, the government was allowed to put on evidence of other alleged misdeeds by Moore. Wow. One witness testified that Moore had threatened to release her dog on her. Never confirmed. Thanks presumably to prejudicial testimony like this, the jury this time convicted Moore. Second trial. Moore received the maximum sentence of 10 years. 10 years. This despite the fact that the dog bite required only 10 stitches, so a year in prison for each one stitch. Moore served her sentence. After that, she went on to full-time employment as a county building inspector and has led a stable life. Her son, who was less than 3 years old when she went into prison, now plans to become a law enforcement officer. What a great story. Notwithstanding the thankfulness these days of the job and on the treatment of his mother. She served, again, the full 10 years. Backed by the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund and the National Fraternal Order of Police, Moore seeks a pardon from President Trump. Pardons should not be granted lightly. Generally, they require a thorough review and facts of the equities. Bottom line, she was pardoned. Second, Moore served far more time than she deserved, even if guilty. A 10-year sentence for a dog bite was wildly disproportionate to any offense. Third, Moore was a highly commended member of the police force before her conviction. Fourth, her prosecution stemmed directly from a sensationalized Washington Post series. Finally, fifth, Moore's post-conviction conduct, including the productive life she had led since her release from prison, speaks in her favor. Board, thank you for letting me have that time. I know we're all very strong and supportive of our law enforcement. We're very proud of our K-9 unit. People sometimes ask me, why do you put yourself in this position? Do you think you can make a difference? That kind of radical approach to local government and that kind of disrespect and that kind of injustice, we've got to battle. So that's why I'm here. One more thing I'm going to read real quick. Commissioner Herzog, we go back a long ways, and you know, he's one of the best basketball players that ever went to Brookings Harbor High School, so in City League, nobody wanted to guard him. I wasn't that much of an offensive threat, but I played a lot of basketball, and so I didn't want to guard him because I always got embarrassed. One time in basketball, our heads collided. My gosh, I had this gigantic black eye, and it looked like a golf ball under my eyebrow. And he felt bad. We smiled. I go home thinking I'm going to get great sympathy. My first wife, born and raised in Brookings. And I said, oh, that Herzog guy. She goes, did you hurt Johnny? And so I never forgot that. And Monday at our meeting, you give us a challenge to please not look back and to move forward. And that was a great thing to hear. And I hope we can do that. I believe we can. We've got a tremendous amount of work to do. We've got a great staff. We've got to work out some things. But I look around. We went over to the swearing in, and somehow we got put ahead of the sheriff, which I still haven't quite figured out, but it was some kind of coordinated professional sequence. But to go before the judge who's been here 20 years, to go before him who's been a public servant for 30 years, dedicated to this county, to go before the assessor and the clerk, likewise 30 years of service. It's really a wonderful motivation. Our district attorney, I think he and his staff are doing an incredible job. And then you, and I'm just really glad to have you here, and I think you're going to contribute greatly. I know you will. And you're going to represent the entire county, and this is just a good day. What I was going to read, I think I'm going to move on and just perhaps do it at commissioners' comments if we have time. I don't think we're going to have a real long meeting today. We'll see. I appreciate everyone's attention. We had some public comments here, I think 5. And but I do want to give each commissioner a chance to just maybe offer remarks. I'll go Commissioner past you first, if you want to consider.
None.
Commissioner Herzog?
I just want to say thank you to the voting public and the citizens of Curry County for their appointment of myself, and I just want to serve the county to the best of my ability. So I'm humbled and honored to be sitting here and with these two gentlemen, and just look forward to what the next 4 years hold. So that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner, very much. Moving on with the agenda. Oh, by the way, he told me that this is the only gavel I can use. So it might get a little practice there. Commissioners, board, amendment or approval to the agenda. Anyone? I'll go with you first, Commissioner Pash.
I think we're going to remove 7A. I got an email from Summer Madison asking to remove that, as Ms. Coleman would like to make sure that they produce the best thing that they can for us. So they weren't ready to present that this morning.
Okay.
Meeting just got a little shorter, maybe, huh?
So do we just cross that out, or do we have to have a
Yes.
motion, or?
Well, it's usually,
we'll do it at the end.
It's usually a board approval, but
But that's one of...
they've asked that it be removed, yes.
Anything else, Commissioner Pash?
No, sir.
Okay, I have a few. I want to pull from the consent agenda, item 6A. Excuse me, Commissioner Herzog, I should go to you first. I apologize.
No, I'm good.
You're okay for now?
Yeah.
Item 6A, minutes of the December 17, 2020 emergency meeting. There's just, the video wasn't available to review that. And so I just want to pull that till next. It's probably there now, but just in case, excuse me, I want to pull that to our next meeting, which presumably is going to be the 13th. And I'm assuming that I have general board consensus there. And then we're going to go to the signature block for item 6C. Perhaps Staff Jesuit's already corrected that, but it needs just a little bit of work, not a huge task. And also 7C.
6C, you said?
Let's see, 6C.
Request order.
Yes.
Parks and Recreation matters.
I think it just had Sue
You said
Goldstill, or...
I don't remember that. That might have been it.
And that was an item I prepared, and I have it in Word version. Essentially, when I prepared it, I didn't know what the composition of the board would be and titles and stuff, so I'll get that in the right form. If
No great rush.
yeah. Well, we'd like to get it taken care of, so sure.
Thank
I can
you.
get that done.
And then let's look at 7C, which is the Economic Sanctuary Reopen Small Business and Resolution. I think that was also a signature block issue, so I don't want to pull that from the action item today, but just so the board's aware, Council Huddle, Staff Jesuit, Director Rickert can take a look and bring that back. Not a huge thing. And then I have 6D on the consent agenda. It says 2 members of the Curry County Compensation Board. We only have 1 since we have a new commissioner. I think we need an application, so I would like to pull that from the consent agenda, and assuming we can get an application in, we would bring that back on the 13th, at a regular meeting.
Yeah, but if,
Do you want that again?
oh, no, so here, if you read it, it's appointing position 2, not appointing 2 members.
In here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, but still no application. Is that correct? Did I miss that?
Signature block's been updated.
Mr. Raleigh said he would like to be reappointed, and I did not advertise it in the papers or on the website. I might have advertised on the website, definitely not in the papers.
Staff Jesuit, do we have a full board on that? I don't think we do.
Yeah, we do.
Can you name
For
that
the 3
board?
people on the compensation board, Mr. Raleigh,
I don't need to put you on the spot. Let's just bring that back to the 13th, and let's get his application in, and just refine this a little bit.
So D is crossed out.
Tabled for next meeting. Hey, that's all I have. I was last on the list. So looking for a motion?
And Mr. Chair, I would just like to add.
Sorry.
1926602F as a executive session, other topic, which is litigation and legal advice. I think it's H and F.
Great, so we'll add that on item number 9. Okay? Anything else, board, staff? So I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda amendments.
So moved.
Second?
Any more discussion? Staff Jesuit, call for the question, please.
Commissioner Pash,
All right.
Vice Chair Herzog,
Yes.
Chair Boyce,
Aye.
motion carried unanimously.
Mary Rose, thank you for your patience. You're up twice here. So Are you looking for 6 minutes or 2 3-minute sections? What is your expectation?
I requested being able to make 2 3-minute comments. One is actually something that you brought up at the last meeting, which is now on the agenda for the workshop. There's no way, in terms of my physical health, that I can come back at 2 o'clock. So I'm asking if I can also make the workshop comment as well while I'm
Yeah, if you don't
here.
mind, just do that one second. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay, let's see.
There's no rush here.
I'm Mary Rowe. I'm here to speak about the overturning and resulting removal of the censure of Commissioner Boyce during the last general meeting on January 4th. I am wondering if the process that overturned the censure was legally acceptable. Specifically, County Council Huddle stated that his understanding was that there could be 2 reasons for overturning the censure based upon Commissioner Boyce's request to overturn it. For procedural irregularities about how the censure was done, or the merits of the action, the censure. For instance, if Boyce asserted that he was acting in an emergency situation regarding a health issue at Cope Boyce Park. When Boyce started speaking about the censure, he asked Herzog if he had a chance to review, quote, this, which I believe meant the packet. Herzog said, quote, a little. Later, after listening to Commissioner Boyce and Commissioner Pash, Herzog made a motion saying that he wanted to do away with the censure on the basis that we have a new board and a brand new board member, and he wanted to start with a clean slate. Boyce seconded the motion, and lots of discussion followed. Then, Council Huddle explained to Herzog what the 2 permissible reasons would be to overturn the censure. Herzog did not respond to Council Huddle's statement by choosing either or both of the permissible reasons to overturn the censure. Pretty quickly, Commissioner Boyce called for the vote. Herzog had not had much time to respond to Huddle's explanation of the acceptable reasons for a motion. The vote was 2-1 in favor of overturning the censure. John Jesuit read the motion back later after it was passed, and the reason JJ read was Herzog's wanting a clean slate, not the permissible reasons that Huddle explained to Herzog and everybody. Accordingly, I do not believe that the censure is legally sound. Further, or the removal of the censure is legally sound. Further, regarding Commissioner Boyce voting to overturn the censure, Huddle stated that Boyce could vote as long as there was no conflict of interest, no pecuniary benefit to him. I am concerned if Boyce, escaping the cost of dealing with the current legal actions that are against Boyce, could constitute a conflict of interest.
And this is regarding the workshop coming up, and which?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Identify, if you would, which workshop agenda item.
It's regarding, I actually dropped the paper on the floor on my way in. It's regarding possibly reclassifying or redefining Brad's position.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Mary Rowe. I am here to address the idea of eliminating the Director of Operations portion of Brad's position. We have a brand new commissioner who did not familiarize himself much with our county government before his first day on the job. Commissioner Boyce is very busy, spread very thin. So how on earth could the BOC assume the duties and responsibilities of a Director of Operations at this time? Very simply, you cannot. It is true that we used to get by without a Director of Operations, but our county government has grown considerably since those days. And during those days, there were office staff to serve the public and take care of many tasks. John Jesuit has been working at home most of the time recently, and I do hope that he can continue to do so. We are, after all, in the midst of a pandemic. But office coverage has suffered. As a disabled person who does not use a computer due to disability, I have not been able to get needed information because of this and the COVID virus restrictions. So, if you do change Director Brad's responsibilities, could someone assist JJ in covering the front desk, which would provide the amount of office coverage that was provided in the past when there was no director? But I would sure hope that Brad's current job description would remain as is for at least the next year. We finally have a nice and competent director. We have found a real winner. We are extremely lucky to have Brad. He took the position in good faith and moved his family here. Could we please honor our agreement and treat Brad with appreciation and trust in his ability? We the people deserve to have Brad's experience and professional know-how as the Director of Operations for our county government. We the people have conveyed to candidates during the past 4 years that we do indeed want a Director of County Operations, and Brad's job description, which essentially calls for him to be a part-time Director of Operations and a part-time Finance Director, is exactly what we need at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rowe. Mr. Shabani?
Good morning. Bob Chavante, Gold Beach.
Morning, Bob.
Morning, how you doing? I'm still not on the fair board yet, just so we're all clear about this.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
May
Can't
I-
wait till I get back on to do it because there's a lot of good things happening down there. When we spoke the other day, some information came up and it was kind of caught a little bit off guard. Of course, I've only been sleeping like 2 or 3 hours a night nowadays. But I want to discuss the amendment to the ordinance 1913. That is the current ordinance number 20-02. And it's my understanding, according to, there's a 90-day period, so that this falls within 90 days of November 4th when it was done. My main thing that caught my attention here was in the first page of the ordinance. It states here, Section 1, subsection A says the first 15% shall be used to cover staff expenses involved in tourism and marketing, subject to the BOC, which was struck and changed to budget committee approval, 40% shall be allocated to the county fair fund, event center account for capital improvement projects. So, two things that kind of struck me on it. There's not a problem about it, like funding staff, and that's understand. Especially the fair fund part is basically you get the total, you make the math, and you ship it out, and it's done. A lot of the work is being done on the other half to try to implement and get the things, do what's best for the county and all the business for promotion. But first, what kind of struck me is that when it was struck from the BOC to budget committee approval. Just kind of for explanation, the budget committee only makes recommendations to the thing, so it still has to come to the BOC for approval. And that was when we were part of the original writing of the ordinances and the measure that was taken into account that you guys be finally done. If you look into the thing, there'll be other committees that you go through reviews, check up. There's also a committee that was supposed to be set up in there for auditing to make sure everything's done correct. So the checks and balances were all in there. So it may just consider that a mistake. And we would have mentioned it sooner, but I was not aware that these type of changes are going to be made. It was just understanding that they're going to try to fund and cover the costs, which is very understandable. The other thing that I would like to consider is the where it says here for capital improvement projects. So what it in sense is doing is limiting what the funds can be used under, used for. And at the lead in to the paragraph says here, the allocation, use, and distribution of TLT funds shall be consistent with ORS 320.300 to 320.350. And then it mentioned the Curry County Ordinance 19-01 and 19-02 with amendments thereafter. So if I would like to see if you consider maybe if you want to include language behind that line to be used consistent with ORS statutes 320-300 to 320-350 for repetitiveness, because there's a lot of things on the ordinance that says besides capital improvements, and of course, right now, and as Commissioner Pash knows, it's all, since he's our liaison, it's all been going to capital improvements, and we're going to use it wisely, and that's why those committees were suggested to be in place to make sure that you have the authority to watch over. So I just know, bring that for a comment, something to consider, and make sure that we fall within the 90-day time frame.
Hey, sorry about the buzzer there.
Oh, that's fine.
Good job. How long have you been really dedicated to our fair and event center? You personally?
Personally?
Yes.
I think it's around 12 years now. Fair board, 3 terms. Would be 3 terms coming up to do that. It's the event center is, and then the fairgrounds is such a value to the county, and it's the key. Like I said, we mentioned the other day that, and the Sony pictures are coming up to do that stuff to look for use for facilities. Well, they're going to fall right in line with that topic you had the other day about opening up restaurants, because they're going to be dropping funds into the coffers of the county and the business people and stuff to help us all out here in the thing. So yeah, it's been a thing. It's been a love. It's been a passion to get it done, because I see it's a value of what they're doing. It's much more than just a fair. This is the reason why I was called an event center, so we can do events, so we can bring these people down. And one of the thoughts to do that is, if you created a spot where we have somebody who actually just goes after these events, an event coordinator, to bring up the League of Oregon Cities, to bring up the Podiatry Association, bring up any other associations to do that. Come here, stay here, do this, use our facilities, and then spend an extra 2 days. So a while back in the chamber, we had a thing going on, and the city promotions was going to just stay 1 more day. Well, if you have a work vacation conference coming on, it's not 1 day, it's 5 days. So imagine what that does to boost the stuff, and also to help the TLT funding, to help everybody else, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Well, you did a good job on, you and Ms. Coleman, on your presentation Monday. Much appreciated. I think you've got a positive board here. We'll get you back on the schedule, so like maybe in a week or so.
That's fine, and that means I can do something else this afternoon.
We'll get you
But
3 times.
I'll probably show up at the meeting and say hi.
You'll be disappointed if you're not here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Nancy Sue Rose.
Nancy Sue Rose, Nasika Beach. I want to second both of Mary Rose's comments. She knows a lot more than I do about the legal aspects in the county. I also wanted to talk about removing the censure. I feel it was wrong. It is not starting over. The court case here against Boyce that he says he won about using the county cars against policy did not succeed because Boyce wasn't censored every time he broke policy. I hope Commissioner Boyce doesn't take this as license to continue to break policy and to interfere in areas that are not in his job as commissioner. I also wanted to ask why, well, not ask, just make a comment that I'm not sure what national police and military deaths and cases have to do with Curry County. I think it's a waste of our valuable time.
Before we go to the next speaker, can I have a moment of silence for the men and women that we've lost in the line of duty? 20 seconds would be much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you again, Board. Next, we have David Barnes.
Good morning, David Barnes. I see that Sequoia is back on the agenda again for today. I still don't understand what did big deal is about putting this contract through. This is a big waste of county money. The last board heard this 4 times. I have more experience writing grants and administering grants than this woman does. She's brand new in this business. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I believe she's nothing more than a disaster parasite. She comes in, I've seen this before after hurricanes and other storms where people show up and they have no experience, but they just want to make money. There's government money to be had and they want to suck it up. And I don't know this woman personally. I don't know who she's related to get such high recommendation, having 0 experience in the business. But I once again want to just reiterate that I think this is a gigantic waste of money for the county. It's not a pressing issue. This woman was here 6 months ago, and nothing was happened on it in the interim. I offered at that time, instead of $150 an hour, that I would write grants for $50 an hour, and then I offered to do it for free. And the board did not take me up on it. Like I said, I have plenty of experience doing this. I've never had a grant application rejected. And to pay some woman 3 times what the highest paid employee of this county gets, who basically offers nothing to this county that other people here don't already do. Summer Matson had made an announcement a week or 2 ago that we had hundreds of thousands of dollars that she secured for us. There's other people in other departments here who write their own grants and administer their own grants. And once again, I just see this as a waste of county money and time and resources getting involved with this. This woman offers us nothing that we can't do for ourselves. And I hope you take that into consideration when this comes up again. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, George Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. If it would please the board, I'd like to address the item when it is a topic of discussion.
Can you tell us what that item is?
That is item C. I believe I put it on the resolution regarding the sanctuary county.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to read the consent agenda here. We've already approved that as amended, but I'd like to, in case I missed something or didn't get it just right, make sure bases are covered here. So, yes, I'm sorry.
I think presentations are next.
Mr. Byerland. How could I overlook you? Steve Byerland, Rogue Basin and Curry County Salmon and Steelhead Recovery Coordinator. Step up. Oh, you might want to adjust the microphone a little bit. I forgot to tell the folks prior to you.
Too short or what?
Yeah, right there. Pretty good. Thank you.
Take one of
Commissioners, I've got,
and then just pass
first
it
of all,
down.
would like to thank all of you for serving on the Board of Commissioners. I know it takes a lot away from your lives, and it's very stressful. I'd like to thank John Herzog for running for Commissioner, and Sue Gold for the time that she put in. A couple other things that if I could do before I start my presentation. I think that the board might consider maybe a accommodation for the city of Brookings for their holiday lights and cheers that they put out in a very difficult year this year. And thought they did a wonderful job, and and I think it'd be good to recognize them.
Would you mind repeating that? I didn't quite.
Pardon?
Would you mind repeating that, Mr. Byerland?
I think it'd be wise or something that the board could think about is giving the city of Brookings an accommodation for the work they did on holiday lighting and bringing some cheer to a pretty dark Christmas season this year. They did a
Even the
wonderful job.
courthouse did a good job. I got here pretty early this morning and the lights were on and it was beautiful.
Should we give the city of Brookings credit for that, too? No.
No.
Another thing I want to mention, I should have had a comment card in, is that I've spoken to a couple of commissioners, and I think this is probably the place to get it on the record, that the Nasika Beach dump the pavement up there is very rough, hard to get around. People are tripping, and holes are being ate up by the weather and whatnot. And if you guys could look to maybe talking with the road department maybe about fixing that or looking at it. And I know I've talked to a couple of you about it, but I wanted to get it on record,
So we're going
Is it
out
correct?
next Tuesday, we're scheduled. I might pass that to your desk.
Okay, that's
Or
incorrect?
either one of you.
That's correct, yes.
But Roadmaster Christensen and I are just trying to get a date we can sneak out there. We were going to call you too.
Okay.
Thanks
Patrick,
for recognizing that.
yeah, Patrick up there has done a wonderful job cleaning
yes.
that up and making it a better facility. So,
Thank you for remembering that.
thanks for putting up with me on that. On my presentation, on the Rogue River salmon issues, when we've been working on this quite a long time, and Commissioner Pash has been invaluable, and Commissioner Boyce as well. If you look at the logo of Curry County, you'll see a couple salmon on there. You probably should cut that down to one.
That's the original logo.
Because there is the salmon runs are in trouble. Our stocks here migrate south, and when you look at salmon issues across the Northwest, all of those stocks migrate north. So they feed in a totally different area of the ocean, have a totally different environment, and usually when the fish to the north are not doing well, the fish to the south boom. But now it's down on both sides. For the last 20 years, the Rogue Run has been being depleted, not from harvest, but from management. In 1977, there was a large dam built at the top of the drainage. Lost Creek Dam is now called William Jess Dam. But about 2005, it became clear that there was a decline in the number of fish, both in wild stocks and in hatchery stocks. Prior to that, the hatchery stocks, none of the fish were marked, or very few. There wasn't enough to, tell how many. It was just a sampling. And when the hatchery stocks were doing well, they masked how well the wild fish were doing. In actuality, within 2 generations of after putting the dam in, the wild stocks dropped by 46% over what they were pre-dam. And the Corps of Engineers accept a responsibility. They operate the dam, responsible for all impacts to the dam. Well, they accepted that, but they've never done anything about it. They've never done any mitigation for wild stocks in the river, and there was no proof that they were declining. In fact, they really didn't know much about it. And then in 2016, I'm referring to this sheet right here that I was in. In 2016, there was a new program or a new thing that was being done at the hatchery, and that was because they had all the fish marked. When the fish swam into the collection pond, they would then know the unmarked ones were wild, the marked ones were hatchery, and they were then able to 100% know what stock was what, And when they built the dam, there was a lot of wild fish that swam into the hatchery, And then every year it got to be less and less. But in 2016, we were supposed to get 13,020 fish back to hatchery to make up for what was lost above the dam. We were 85% below that. It was the first time that we were marked that we knew where we were at, And so we're 85% below. 2017, 76% below. 2018, 66% below. And 2019, 75% below. And this last year, over 90% below. And nothing's been done. The Corps doesn't respond to requests or talking, and we've all had meetings with them, and they're very evasive, nice but very evasive. But they didn't know these numbers when I talked to them. They were unaware, but they're supposed to be aware. One of the reasons why they were unaware is the state of Oregon put out 13 conditions for support of building the dam. And it said that those conditions must be followed. And it was interesting that was given to the authorization of the dam in 1962, and again in the environmental impact statement in 1972. And they was reiterated. But they didn't send one letter. They sent multiple letters all of them included, the state had to give permission before the project could be built. That was a condition. Okay, the state then had 13 conditions to meet. One of those was to have a full-time biologist on staff, to track changes and needs, and these numbers, But the Corps defunded that position just prior to 2005 when things went to heck. Hasn't been funded again. Violation of state condition. Violates state condition. To me, it violates the authority for the dam. Then they were supposed to keep flexibility of water releases so that
Temperature.
spawning and incubation and of eggs, whatnot, could happen. Well, the big cause of loss of wild fish is the water's too warm in the wintertime. The eggs hatch too soon because they hatch by thermal unit. If they hatch too soon, 6 weeks prior to what they did. Peak of spawning used to be in March. Now it's in middle January. And the little guys don't survive that cold weather and lack of insect activity, whatnot that happens in the wintertime. So that was violation number 2. Violation number 3 has me stumped for a second. Yeah, I'll get back to that. But there's a third violation that is equally as important as well. But we are trying as a county to create a coalition of counties, where this information becomes available and to the counties. And we currently have a legal firm that is a nonprofit that is looking at legal angles, whether we have any legal angles against the Corps. Federal agencies are pretty well protected. You can't do anything in state court, although there is a bill, LC 2676, that Representative Dave Brock Smith is pushing forward, but it's really, in my view, nice, but it's a shot across the bow maybe, but you cannot sue the Corps in state court, and so, but it does lay it out and say that, we could, and there's primarily to represent counties and businesses going forward with some kind of angle. Secondly, on another, and so we're just waiting to hear back from the legal counsel whether there's any opportunity or what our position is being, and that's taken a while because they're reviewing all the permits to go for the dam, which were water resources, the electrical FERG, and different permits to see if there's any violations within. The Corps has been named by the state as a water polluter, and that is important. Also on this list in 2005 was the year that they discovered toxic blue-green algae bloom on the lake. Well, the water from the lake goes directly to the hatchery. They incubate the eggs and then rear the fish in until they're released, the smolder released. And that toxic blue-green algae is toxic. And there's different blue-green algae. The one they have there is one of the worst ones, and it's toxic. It usually comes from pollution. Neither the state nor the Corps has done any research into find where the pollution is coming from. I don't know everything, but I think I could sit down and almost write a list without even going up there where it's coming from. And I think there's a sewer service at Prospect. There's also a bunch of cattle ranches that right next to the gorge. That you flood irrigate, and then there's a bunch of homes with septic tanks along there. And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but it's pretty obvious that that's about the only place it come from, because above that you have National Park and some pretty pristine land and whatnot. But that needs to be addressed. And it's one of the things that we're going to try and put some pressure on both the state and the Corps of Engineers. State doesn't want to do it because it costs money. The Corps is the one that's responsible. In order to get this list that I showed you here, there's a collection pond one, this one here, and this is 1 year. This is 2019, and it shows you how I derive the numbers. These were only available since 2016, but the the numbers that the ODFW reports, in 2019, they reported 3,794 fish came into the hatchery, and so that's the number that goes down.
Would you repeat that number for the public again, please?
3,794.
Oof,
The
horrible.
desired number, the number they're supposed to hit is 13,020. But it's 13,020 adults of hatchery origin. So you have to subtract the 204 wild fish that came in, the 204 subjects, which are under 16 inches. The J stands for jacks and the Gen stands for female jacks. You have to subtract those because they're not adults. And so instead of 3794, you come out with 3223. It just kind of gives you an idea. But a lot of the numbers any numbers the state will put out will be including these other fish that are not supposed to be included. And I've been told to drop that line of argument because it was too confusing. I don't think it's confusing. I think it's important.
Stand your ground.
And the second thing that we're doing is something that's a little bit new. Tom Satterwhite was the lead biologist for the Rogue for, I'm not sure, 25 years at least. We've had a lot of debates over fisheries. I've learned a lot from him over the years. Anybody that knows him as a scientist. He speaks the truth. He does, you can't sway him, and he's done most of the studies that have been done on the Rogue River in the last 25 years. He authored or was a lead in, and he is, and the Rogue has more fish information on it than any stream in the state of Oregon. And with Tom, he's now retired, and he travels a lot, but in between travels, I've managed to pin him down, and we are constructing a petition to the Corps of Engineers that I would be presenting to, and that's this one here. Now, this is a draft, and it's only probably half completed, but it gives you an idea, of a little bit of where we're going. But the EIS was done for the project in 1972. 47 years or 48 years later, here we are, but in that time frame, when the authorization happened in 62, they said further studies needed to be done, more information needed to be brought in, and even by 72, it was the same thing, that studies needed to be done that hadn't been done prior. To give you an example, when they did the authorization and going into the EIS, there was, it was considered there was 7 miles of habitat lost above the dam. So they calculated how many fish would be in that 7 miles of habitat that spawned, Unfortunately, there was 14.5 miles of habitat in that area. And they just used a ruler on a map, and the river doesn't run straight, to decide how far that was, And I have the original map that shows the dam location before it was built, and I can lay a ruler on it, and it's 7 miles, And so I'm pretty sure that's how they did it. Somebody probably back in Washington, D.C. or whatever that hadn't even been. The river ran in a canyon. There was no roads down to it. It was very secluded. You could float through it, but it was a pretty hairy float, And it was pristine habitat. And it's, now under the lake, and lost forever. But there was no real research done on how many fish spawn in that area. The coho salmon, they said there wasn't any. Well, coho spawn in December. The river's high, it's snowy, there's no access, whatnot. How are you going to, and the river ran red, back then, and so how are you going to see those spawning beds? And they used an airplane to spot them, and same thing with the steelhead, winter and summer. They both spawned during high water times, with dirty water, it was impossible to tell. So they just did estimates that I have asked the new stakeholders meeting on salmon, or on steelhead and coho, to reassess the number of fish hindcast. You have 7 miles of pristine habitat, how many fish spawn in that area? They've got a general idea. They might say 800 a mile or 1,500 a mile or whatever, and then you multiply that and you've got your number, So I'm trying to get them to hindcast with their scientists what would have been there, and then that would change. Right now, they're saying it was only 500 summer steelhead and 500 winter steelhead, no coho. I don't accept that, in 14 miles of pristine habitat at the head of the, of the river. But back to this petition, and that the petition is to ask the Corps of Engineers to do a supplemental EIS, which can be asked for, and the Corps of Engineers can do it any time, but it's their decision whether they do it or not. And the Rogue Dam, the Lost Creek Dam, was the first dam built with fish as a priority purpose, in the United States. And so this is something that's it's a win for the county, and to put this pressure on them to redo the EIS. Now, if they don't redo the EIS, I think it puts them in a bad light and us in a better position moving forward, That's about my
Steve?
report. Any questions?
Yes. Both Commissioner Patch and I have recognized your almost 50 years of doing this. And you mentioned Tom Satterwhite. I've known him for years, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall when you two get into a debate on the best way to bring our salmon and steelhead populations back. Very, very interesting. I don't have a question other than thanks so much for your work. We've got different boards in both Josephine and Jackson County now. Dave Daughter was elected, and I've known him for quite a few years. He was basically chief of staff for Dennis Richardson when he was Secretary of State, and when Dennis served as representative for many years, and then Herman Bearsugar from Josephine County. So Dan DeYoung is also very interested in this, Josephine County. So we're going to be reaching out to them at some point in time. I assume that we have your permission, or at least portions, to put on our website when the time is. Do you want to speak to that, please?
Yes, I think you can put the first two pieces of documentation on the website. The petition is still a draft, and we're,
Gotcha.
Working on that. And I know you asked me, Commissioner Boyce, to come and give a report a couple times, and I put you off. It was
That's okay.
because of this petition for new EIS, supplemental EIS, and it wasn't done, and we're still working on it. But I think this piece here on the petition for a supplemental EIS will be very popular with the other counties, and bring them on board, because we're basically, yes, sir, we're asking them to reevaluate the impacts of the dam, in a new EIS after much science has gone into it, and we now know what the returns are, and also with the fall of the fish numbers, and helped identify that. So I think the other counties, and maybe Coos, Douglas, would also be interested in.
Thanks for mentioning Coos County especially, but the Rogue Basin County right now are the three: Jackson, Josephine, and Curry. Staff Judge, I want to confirm that you have the documentation, that we're okay, we're good though. So let's go to... Okay, we'll make sure you get that. We'll go to Council Huddle, and then Commissioner Herzog, please.
Thank you. And I was hoping Steve could stick around or return when we do the executive session to talk about legal advice, because I'd like to talk to you and discuss the legal parts of this matter with the board in exec session.
Okay.
Can I suggest that's probably going to be around 11:15?
It's up to,
We have one scheduled for 11 on the labor.
okay.
So
Right, 11:30, 11:15, 11:30.
Is that what you're thinking? Good.
Yeah,
Okay, I can do that.
thank you.
So 11:15, 11:30, maybe somewhere in there.
I appreciate your interest. So,
Terrific. Thank you. Commissioner Herzog?
Steve, are you getting any help from ODF&W at the hatchery? You talk about the Corps of Engineers, but, that hatchery is
Go ahead
ODF.
and give your history, your family.
Well, my dad was the superintendent on the hatchery before they built the dam. And we lived up Crowfoot Road on the Butte Creek, right there at Casey Park. And
I spent much
So-
of my youth there.
Yeah. And I know about that algae because we lived in Brookings as a young married couple, and we had a boat, and as we raised our kids, we took that boat over and stayed at Joseph Stewart State Park and water skied and knee-boarded and all that stuff on the lake, and there was no algae at the beginning. And we used, and then over the years it started, and you would think there would be a way to collect it because it kind of stays in a big gob. And, sad to say, but we used to pull the kids through it. That was kind of a punishment. If you're not good, you get pulled. I'd see that, and anyway, had I known what it was that nasty, I probably wouldn't have done that. But they're still alive, and one of them's got 2, 3, or 4 arms that he shouldn't. But so are you getting any help from ODF and W on this?
Yes and no. As far as the hatchery, it's the science of the hatchery that interests me. What the actual things are.
Yeah.
The staff up there is appalled at the situation. I along with support of the board, in this last year, Commissioner Herzog put the only request for funding authorization for repairing the hatchery. We put in $26 million, it was submitted through Merkley and Wyden's office, and it got to Washington, D.C., and it was accepted very well, From then, it's been silence, and but haven't heard anything. But we'll resubmit that year after year, But the Corps hadn't put money in for repair. They put $500,000 basically in for a study to find out what repairs need to be done. And that was when ours got to Washington, D.C., they threw that one out and took ours, said they wanted to fund it rather than just do studies, But that whether that gets through or not, I don't know. I think probably the new administration probably has more opportunity than it did, on the other side, And but the hatchery water system had to be bypassed, the filter system, and they're running straight water through there, which is blue-green algae as well, And to make a point that's really weird is the algae is so bad on the lake that it's present 6 months a year. There's a winter bloom and a summer bloom, and that's pretty rare.
Commissioner Pash?
Well, first, I think I'd like to let the citizens know that I don't believe anyone in this room is asking that the dam be removed.
Good point.
We want everyone to know that we would like to make sure that that dam stays there, so please don't start that rumor. I would like to say, on a down note, I've been in several meetings with Congressman DeFazio, as some of us here have, and he always comes in and he asks his staff to ask us the important points of what we want to ask him. And he listens for 10 or 15 minutes, and he gives a 3 or 4 minute dissertation of what he thinks, gets up and leaves. And so far, we haven't heard any more from him. He's made a lot of promises to us on this river, and to my knowledge, has not delivered any. I'm saddened by that. I will say, though, through relationships and conversations and continued trips to Washington, my conversations with Secretary Bernhardt's office and the Secretary himself, we now have funding for the river. I received an email on Monday, January 4th. You may want to know, as you know, and I'm sure Commissioner Boyce and probably Commissioner Herzog know, a lot of the problems in the Rogue River stem from all the gravel and rock in the river that is displaced, causing temperatures to rise, spawning to be different, more predatory fish, more birds, those kind of things all contribute to the loss of our fish. So I received an email on Monday from Ray Boshiger. Sorry if I murdered your name, Ray. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I hope you had a great holiday season. I have confirmed that with the Corps of Engineers districts, that the funds that we received for your ask in 2020, the work along with congressional reprogramming that occurred in late 2020, was carried over to 2021. The channel of the entrance of the Rogue River, along with the marina entrance and all the gravel bar from the outside of the federal channel to the bridge will be removed this year.
Outstanding.
They will get that done this year. While they have promised that, they have also promised me that they will have a crew here in March or April to look at the Rogue River from Lexus Landing, that area, up to Elephant Rock. They're going to have some engineers come in look at that and possibly find some funding to remove that. This is all through Secretary Bernhardt's office, not DeFazio's office, as he is the boss of the Corps of Engineers. Actually, he is the man on this. He is an outdoorsman. He loves fishing. He loves to be here, and I have still invited him. And actually told him Commissioner Boyce would love to take him up the river for a nice jet boat ride.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still hopeful to get him here, even though he may be out of office in the spring. But
We hope that's delayed, huh?
But anyway, he is working hard. His office is working hard to get this taken care of, and I do have a promise that it is budgeted now. So as far as for our study and what you're doing here, I thought it was important to make sure you're informed moving forward that this will happen now. The funding is, we've been promised that it'll happen, put it that way.
I think it's important that we have more than a one-prong approach, you know, and there's going to be people that are resistant to any legal action, but I see no one, you know, on the playing field that would be resistant to a supplemental EIS, you know, and I think it'd be very popular, and I think it'll give us a much better relationship with the Congressman DeFazio's office or any of our congressional delegation. I'm hoping that this, I've asked Representative David Brock Smith if he had a bill position to make this request, you know, from the state legislature and get them on board and notified, you know. And so I'll try to get this completed as soon as I can, you know, but we want a good product. You know, so.
Go ahead.
I just want to say also, I fully support a court action, legal action on this. I think of the citizens of this county, of the state of Oregon. This is the Rogue River. It's not some little backyard creek. This is the Rogue River, arguably the top 2 or 3 sporting rivers in the world. If the citizens of this state knew the level that the Corps of Engineers has gone to not take care of their promises in this EIS, I think they'll be shocked, and the only way we're going to get them to know that is through a court procedure.
In 1962, the authorization document made clear that the Rogue River was of utmost importance to local, state, and national interests, and recognized as a nationally important fishery, you know, and that is in the law, Rivers and Harbors Act, 1962, and we're losing sight, you know, the administration, the Corps of Engineers loses sight of that fact. The largest run of spring Chinook salmon in the world is on the Rogue River, you know, and we're losing it. And there is a request for a listing for endangered species on spring Chinook on the Rogue River. And if they win that, it's going to affect all counties, all permits, all uses, and all fisheries on the river, you know. And so I'm not sure what the status is. I believe that the National Marine Fisheries Service has not accepted it yet, but they are looking into it to see if it's warranted. So,
Mr. Byerland, 2 real quick things you can clarify if you would. Number one, and I appreciate Commissioner Pash mentioned this theory, this crazy notion that somehow there's a promotion of removing the dam. That has brought a little bit of apprehension, though, to at least one of the other 2 counties. You might want to speak to that real quick, because you know, I'm holding judgment on whether I think we should sue or not. I'm not opposed. I'm not in favor right now, but I kind of want to keep a lid on that just for a bit. And then the second thing, if you would, for me, to the extent we probably need to consider coordinating the Department of Interior, the work that Commissioner Pash has done, and then our sonar study that we've been working on. I want to make sure we don't overlook that. So if you want to speak to that now, or we could, next time you come in, we could, you know, touch on that. Thank you.
yeah. It is important. I mean, we got a many-pronged approach here, you know, and originally when I came into this and made presentations, I was kind of, you know, pushing for, let's do some legal action because the Corps won't do anything. And when I say the Corps won't do anything, you know, that's not just me. The state of Oregon is saying the Corps won't do anything. We've tried everything we can try. Our hands are tied. We can't do any more. So therefore, somebody has to step forward and help the state of Oregon with that situation. And I won't say who, what, whatever, but the state of Oregon is behind us back here. And until they have approval from the governor or we have our case laid out or whatever, I wouldn't think I wouldn't think any county commissioner or board or the state could say, yeah, let's sign on to that. Well, we don't know what it is yet, and so until we have our legal opinion and some more information, we can't really say that, but we have to keep it on our table as something to look for as one of our prongs, But if the Corps of Engineers denies doing a supplemental EIS, I think they hurt themselves greatly, because then it shows that we have gone to them, asked them, for help, identified the issues and whatnot, and then if they turn away from it, then what other angle do we have? They're locking us in a corner.
Thank you very much. We're going to bring you back in a month or 6 weeks.
Hour and a half.
Thank you, Board.
Hour and a half.
Oh, yeah, an hour and a half. Thank you.
you,
So we're
Steve.
going to take a break in about 10 minutes if we can. So I've got a presentation. Did somebody else did you have a comment?
No?
Nope.
Thank you again, Mr. Byron. I don't know if this should be in the presentation category. If nothing else, it's it's a well-deserved shout out to Coos Curry Electric, your board, Commissioner Herzog. And I'll just read real quick here. They sent a deal out to our employees, and I think it was about a month ago. And I think it's worth taking the time to read real quick. It's not a lot of information, but it also, if the public is listening, to the extent the public is, there's some notes here to just be on guard, be extra on guard. I start off by saying, hey, I'm no expert. However, I've been the victim of an ugly cyber blackmail, and I think we all probably know others that have. Coos Curry is a contractor of IT services. They've been very successful and beneficial for our needs. However, the level of, this is their quote now, malicious messages and cyber theft risk remains an issue nationwide, and it's growing. Today is just a quick and important reminder to be aware of many different email scams that keep surfacing and are growing threats. Coos Curry cautions everyone to stay alert also for the harmless text messages that are intended to fool users into offering up money or even security secrets. Employees are the most targeted link in the network security chain. Hackers rely on trickery and human error to gain access to network resources. Just a side note here, Coos Curry Electric, again, has been very diligent, and their quote, another quote, we need to consistently educate users and keep folks trained. So what do employees that are hearing here, and it can be from basically any company, but especially our Curry County staff, what do they need to do to receive, if they receive such a message? Delete it. Do not click on any links within the message body. If you are unsure of its authenticity, please notify IT for assistance. If you are worried about account notifications in an email, please notify IT for assistance. Do not click on the links. Did they say do not click on the links? If you have clicked on the link, close the browser window and reboot your PC. That's a good one. If you have clicked on the link and entered your credentials, immediately reset your password to something completely new. And they bolded that, completely new. It may be a good idea to reset any other account passwords that are the same. Also, again, notify IT immediately. And then they say, thanks for staying vigilant against potential attacks. What does the public do when they see something odd or strange? For the public, it is simpler, but again, an important reminder and an awareness. Do not open email from unknown sources. Do not open email attachments from unknown sources. Do not click on links with an email from unknown sources. Be suspicious of email messages that have multiple errors in grammar or spelling unless you know the sender. Still better be on high alert there. If an email appears to come from a known source but looks suspicious, pick up the phone and call the source to verify. Never send money or gift card information to anyone from an emailed request. The IRS, police, FBI, or any other authority group, this is important, will never contact you via email and ask for money or threaten your freedom. So if you get blackmailed, it's not coming from the federal government, the police, or the IRS. When in doubt, delete it. You can always call an organization to verify contents in any email. Due to the holidays, IT is a little shorthanded, but we'll tentatively set up another schedule, maybe within a month or so, and hopefully there's nothing additional for them to be concerned about. But it is nationwide, well, for goodness sakes, worldwide, becoming more and more of an issue to stay ahead of this kind of stuff. So one more thing. You saw what happened in the federal government. 30-some federal area. Come on up, Steve. Mr. Byerland. 30-some United States departments were targeted, and they still are assessing the damage on that from the federal government level. You know, I've had some commissioner friends in Tillamook. They were shut down for almost a week. Everything was shut down, and it was a tremendous headache. OHA was recently hacked not too long ago, and boy, did that, and some really, really ugly stuff. And I just want to make note, my phone number 2 years ago was used, and so caller ID came up, calls in the middle of the night, and they were doing a political thing that was just horrible. And you know, one young mom called me and said, "I just got my sick 2-year-old to sleep." And I mean, I didn't sleep for 3 days then. Nothing I could do except explain, I am so sorry. I had no control over this, and I didn't want to change my number because it's my personal cell phone, and a lot of people in this county have it. So nothing has happened since then. That was 2 years ago, but it was brutal. So let's go to Mr. Byerland first, please.
Yeah, Steve Byerland, Nasika Beach. I've had a business, internet marketing for 20 years, and worked on a lot of internet issues. One of the things that's key, if you get an email, you can, open it, but I mean, you can't go to the attachments, But when you do that, it shows you who sent the email. And so you immediately, first thing you want to do is look at who the email sender is. And you look at that email sender, and it might be a .ru, which is Russia, or something that is weird, or a name for the email address that nobody would ever use and whatnot. And that gives you a real clue as to it being a problem to open and whatnot. I'm not saying that's just one of the things you want to watch for, in addition to the misspelling and, anything that's weird, because a lot of foreign people don't use all the adjectives and, nouns that we do, and nobody'd write that way, I'm probably going to say it wrong, but the practice of phone numbers, coming up on your caller ID is called phishing, and
I dare you to spell that.
Yeah, it's PH, is what it starts with,
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a practice where they just go in and randomly grab a number, and somebody might be calling you from, and it's, a lot of them are, pretty established businesses. But if somebody's you see somebody using a number from Gold Beach and they're calling from New York, one of my favorite questions is, when I ask them, I said, do you realize that the phone number that come up for you is in Gold Beach, and you're a big corporation, and where are you located in Gold Beach? Do you know where Gold Beach is?
Click.
And they have no clue, and I love to not hang up on them. I love to keep them going and use up their time and stuff, but they can use anybody's number from anywhere,
Yep.
And last week I think I got 2 or 3 calls from Brookings numbers and a couple from Gold Beach numbers that were, and the people that have those numbers, they're active numbers, they work. I got one from John Carl one day, and a guy in Agnes, but they're active numbers and whatnot, but they're using them, and it's not the fault of anybody who owns the number, and there's really not much we can do to stop it, but be aware of it.
Stay there if you would, please. Commissioner Pash?
Well, back in May, we put together a policy on this, and I just want to make sure if we do any policy issues on this, that we clear everything through CIS and Coos Curry Electric. Make sure that they're all involved with the IT department of Coos and CIS. But we do have a policy on this that was put through in May. If anyone in the county wants to see that policy, I believe it's available on the website.
CIS stands for,
County Insurance
County
Service.
Insurance
Okay.
Services.
Or city.
Legal, it's legal.
okay.
Yep.
So thank you on that. And, yeah, I think that Coos Courier will take the lead on that when they're able to come back. Like I say, they were a little short-handed. This was sent in a week ago, so good call. Anything else? Any more discussion? Thank you. So let's take a break. Be back here at 10:25, please. That's 9 minutes. Appreciate it. There. We're going to go to item Curry County Board of Commissioners, January 6th, 2021. The consent agenda. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Item 6B, chip rock quote with signature authority to Roadmaster. 6C, request of Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for I'm sorry. Everybody get your microphones on.
I do.
I'm the only holdout here. Sorry, Eric. Request to Oregon Parks and Recreation Department for access restrictions to snowy plover breeding area 2021 season. 6E, board approval of amendment number 02, circuit sharing agreement, Oregon Department of Transportation and Curry County. Item number 6F, Roadmaster request for board approval and signature of Dyer Partnership Task Order 14C for Curry County Road Department, Gardner Ridge Road slide repair. Oh man, that's good news. Amended final design. Any corrections to that? I think we've already approved it, just double checking.
I thought item C was pulled. Am I
He
wrong?
didn't read C. Oh, no, he did read C.
No, item C only needs a correction to the signature
It's
block.
just a signature block.
Good
And-
job, gentlemen.
And,
Thank you. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, when you say we approved it, you only approved the amendments. You need to actually approve the actual items on the consent agenda. So there should be a
So this
motion.
is a separate vote. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yes. Looking for a motion. Approve the consent agenda as I just identified and communicated.
So moved?
I'll second, as amended.
Discussion? Call for the question. Staff Jesuit?
Commissioner Pash,
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog,
Yes.
Chair Boyce,
Yes.
motion carried unanimously.
Item 7B, county work from home policy. Let me bring up my notes here. Oh, it disappeared. Forgive me, guys. Boy, it just disappeared. We're getting back here. Sorry for the delay. This was submitted in order we could make it in time for Staff Jesuit's important deadline. A lot has happened since then. I've been seeing a lot of departments that have had their people working full-time have not been working at home. You know, I've seen bills come across where we've purchased a chair or a special deal for somebody to work at home. And, you know, I conclude this paragraph by saying, considering the coronavirus is being away from the county offices, maybe even safer. But I've heard from a lot of different department heads that are in favor of this. A lot of them say in favor of working at home. A lot of them say no, you know, to do things fairly between all the departments with the recognition of the risk of the pandemic. You know, we're not there yet. So I'd like the board to discuss this. You know, I set up 10 minutes. I don't know if that's appropriate, but just in this last week, I'm seeing most of the people come back. I didn't do a COVID report today. I know we're up around 280 positive cases. we remain at 3 deaths. The hospitalizations, as we saw in our presentation on Monday, we're holding our own there okay. But it's a time to be not to drop our guard. And so the question here is, do we want a county policy? Should we have a county policy? It's been noted that let the department heads run their own programs. Of course, I agree with that. However, I just want all the employees, how does this evolve into the most responsible approach that we can possibly take? So, board? Commissioner Pash?
Well, thank you, Board Chair. I think we've talked about this on numerous occasions, and I thought we have already voted and approved that the department heads would make the decisions for their own departments, and if they had an issue or a problem, that they could then report that to us. That was my understanding. I mean, this is hopefully a temporary thing, this COVID issue. And yes, the county's normal policy is that everyone will work, from their respective offices, but during this pandemic emergency, I thought we had voted already to let the department heads make their own decisions on who they felt needed to be at home and who they felt should be at work. I mean, that's my comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Herzog?
Well, obviously, I wasn't around when that was talked about. I did appreciate Monday's meeting and that Dr. Ely's presentation. I think, but that's not the general consensus of the state, or and not everybody saw that. So I know we can't just say, well, here's some vitamin C, vitamin Z, zinc, and you're going to be okay. But if you guys agreed that the department's head could make that determination, then I'm okay with that. And I'm like Chris, I hope it's short-lived. So tired of it. So.
Yeah. Well, I think your point is well taken on the vitamins. It's not an end-all, but it was sure a wonderful reminder of anything we can all do, even the slightest percentage of reducing the risk. I don't think we can say it enough. Is that overreacting? It's back to the approach that, hey, I'd rather overreact and keep people safe and reminded and aware as opposed to underreact, and all of a sudden we have a major surge or outbreak. At the state level, we are seeing some good things happen. Actually, you heard Dr. Ely mention that Monday, that there seems to be a little bit of the breaking the raise there, but we're a long way from saying it's time to relax. And I don't know very many people very few that are promoting that notion. So we don't have to panic. We got a very important discussion later today on how we can help our companies and our small employers, our businesses. I don't remember, and maybe Council Huddle or Staff Jesuit can shed some light on this. We actually voted. We have had 2 specific conversations on this. We've had some of the department heads come in. The assessor, the clerk, I heard from the sheriff. We got some good input. So did we actually come up with an order or
Policy?
county policy? No, go ahead. You're doing fine.
I believe so. I think Commissioner Pash is accurate. However, I will research it when I get back to my desk.
That'd be fine. That'd be fine. So, and I put this under of course, the discussion category, and it seems even a little less of a priority, I'm saying that very guardedly, than it did a week ago. Our cases have only gone up about, that's not the best word, but have gone up less than 20 in the last 7 days. That's not a bad sign, but it's not a good sign either. I hope that makes sense to the public. So, did you have something else? We'll just maybe we won't even need to consider bringing this back. If we do have a county policy and we're watching close, the department heads managers, of course, working very closely with us. It may not be necessary to bring this up again for a while or indefinitely. And so we just look for that information. I'd appreciate it when you can. No hurry, Staff Jesuit. Anything else on this? So we can move on? Council Huddle, you didn't have anything extra on that?
Nope, I don't have any clear, I know the board had discussed it and there was consensus, whether there was a motion or an order, I'm not clear on, and JJ's going to do the research, so, but
I'm not saying, I don't believe there was an order. I just think it was there was a discussion and a vote that we would leave it up to the department heads to, it was just a consensus vote, not an, I don't believe it was an order.
And it seems like that was based on some input from the actual department heads themselves, so it was kind of a tip of the hat to the management group.
You know, actually, our last management meeting was December 8th. I think it come up a little bit then, and I was a commissioner rep at that time, and I did voice a little bit of a concern, but I guess in concluding, I'm seeing fewer people work from home and are back in the office, and that's a good thing. I hope it lasts, as you both expressed. So we'll move on. The Sequoia Consulting contract.
So I do have.
About C.
Did I skip one?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I sure did. I got a different, oh, I see. Economic Sanctuary reopen small businesses and resolution of support for Douglas County, the Douglas County reopening plan. Summer Madison, Economic Development Coordinator, and yours truly. She was through here just a minute ago. Yeah, I'm sorry, my next one that popped up was Sequoia, so I wonder if I just, no, here it is, I'm sorry. So I'll read the brief background. As the need to protect the economic vitality and sustainability of our small business grows, we are seeking refuge in the effort to protect our rural economy. Economic security is a pressing issue in Curry County, and the current state lockdown policies continue to have direct negative economic, behavioral health, and social consequences. Just a little side note there. I mean, we've got some people, very caring, very well-educated, very concerned citizens that are saying it could be a mental health tsunami. So we need to be aware how critical that could be. And some put it in the likely category. In the workshop, a resolution in support of similar and ongoing efforts of Douglas County will be presented. And we did some work on this, quite a bit of work, well done. Coordinator Madison, and I'm going to give you the microphone there. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Summer Madison, Economic Development. If Chair Boyce, if you would be so kind as to open the file there at the bottom.
You trust me with the mouse?
Less hands on the mouse, probably the safer. Okay, what would we like to address first? The support of Douglas County or the...
I think so.
Okay, so if you'll open the middle document, reopening plan, yes, thank you. So this is the letter of support that we are looking to have signed and sent to the governor and the lawmakers in regards to support of Douglas County and their business reopening plan. I feel like this is a really good segue into where we want to be as far as economic resiliency, where recovery at this point. I don't know if everybody's had the opportunity to read the letter, but I think we agreed we were in full support of submitting a letter to the state of Oregon and the governor and the lawmakers. And so it's just a one-page letter, and I've drafted a resolution in support of Douglas County from this perspective, as have many of our other counties in the state, and this is the kind of teamwork and support that we need to come together and have a voice in. Chair Boyce, if you wouldn't mind minimizing this letter. The next document is going to be the third one down. It's the resolution of support.
I'm sorry, can we go back to that just a second?
Sure.
I
Is there
just want to
something
highlight
specific?
one paragraph, and you can comment, maybe strictly up to you, but I had it marked here, bear with me. Oh, here it is right here, number 3. The remedies to small business currently being offered by the state are completely inadequate. And I'm sort of speaking for you, and not intentionally, but we've had some wonderful conversations on this. Last week's distribution, now that would be 2 weeks ago, or even a little more, of $20 million. The small business grants by Business Oregon closed after 15 minutes due to oversubscriptions. Similarly, the $55 million offered this past week by 2 weeks ago, Governor Brown, is wholly inadequate to match the current devastation in our local business communities. The economic damage to our local businesses and families are in the billions of dollars, not millions. And so the reason I wanted to do number 3 there, thank you for your patience, everyone. You could read this whole letter, and I mean, it stops your heart. But that's a key part of it that I hope will bring some results to the state of Oregon. I want to add just one thing to that, and you may have better information than I do, Coordinator Madison, but the Douglas County is now at 1,475, as of this morning, positive cases. And, of course, they have 110,000 population to our 23, whatever. And but they've gone from extreme to high risk, down 2. So it's looking a little better for them. I also want to highlight, and then prefer you to communicate here, this was in conjunction with, again, the Oregon State Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Right. So I know it sounds pretty exciting in that we're gaining some ground when we see that our numbers lower, but when we're looking at those testing results coming in between holidays and the lack of tests that are able to be administered in that time frame, we really need to question how accurate that is. And what I really do appreciate about the letter to the governor and lawmakers from Douglas County is that it's not a finger-pointing game or blame game. This is where we are at, and this is what we identify as the greatest need for our, not just our businesses, but our community. And so I do appreciate that that's kind of the mindset of the counties right now, is just being as emotionally detached and providing as many facts to support their claim as possible. And that's a great reminder to myself. But so if you'll, Commissioner, Chair Boyce, if you would open the Douglas County Resolution of Support.
Was that
It would be the third one down.
Sorry.
So I took into consideration the advice and input from County Council and from several restaurant owners and business owners that had great input. I will let you know that the only number that I did not put in here is how many grants we received for funding at the county level last month compared to what was funded. And I can amend this to add that if you would like. But you'll see, I mean, we definitely bring some statistics and some percentages that support where we're heading with this. And I know that there's a lot of concern from some business owners in regards to retaliation of fines from OSHA, OLCC, and this is a measure that we are hoping to have signed today in support of those businesses that want to take the responsibility to stay open or reopen and have some protection in that from their local government. And so I don't know if you want me to read this all, but it is, it's pretty thorough, and hoping that with the signing of this letter, we send that to the governor, lawmakers, and to eventually circuit court.
No, you don't have to read it all, but we may refer back to it and one of the other 2 documents. Thank you. Commissioner Pash?
I don't have that letter in my packet.
This that's on the screen right now?
Yes.
Correct, yeah. And so is this what you're asking the board to sign?
Yes, so initially on the 29th of December, I was asked to submit for the workshop and this meeting. And at that time, what I had was the draft that I brought to the board on Monday. And from that workshop, I made the amendments and adjustments that were suggested and brought this. So I did not submit this in addition to. This is the revision that was
The
recommended.
refined one.
Yes.
This is what, yes, okay. Commissioner Pash, thank you.
Yes, if I could, maybe ask that we get a chance to read this, of course, before we sign it. So if we were to agree to move forward with this, if we could maybe bring it back later for approval for signature, but I would like, of course, to read the
I think
language.
that's a good idea, but I would like it done today, if that's
Oh,
the
absolutely, absolutely.
board's preference. Thank you. Okay,
My
good.
preference.
Great, thank you for that.
Now, do we want to include the Douglas County Oregon State Chamber of Commerce one as well? Hopefully to sign at the same time.
Well, there was only minor changes in that one, maybe grammar, and updated some statistics. Both of these, well, more so the Curry County Small Business Resolution of Support was more of a living document in getting all of those numbers and percentages updated to today's numbers so that it reflects accurate as of the date that it's been signed. I'm happy to update those numbers for when you do decide to sign that. I'm hoping that would be the 13th and no later, or we can leave it as is.
Only one change, and that's on the accurate hazard level. And for the county of Curry, and it talks about an estimated 1,283 Oregonians that have passed, and we just need to adjust that number.
Yeah, it's,
That's 2 weeks ago, I think.
no, it's not.
It isn't?
No.
Isn't it up around 1,400 now? This is not
It's
the
at
right doc.
1550.
Do you want me to go to the right one? It's
Yeah.
1350, you said?
1550.
1550.
Oh, yeah.
Just pulled those numbers this morning.
Yes, thank you. So in 2 weeks, you can do the math. So which one would you like us to click on now, or do we need to?
Well, that's up to you. If you want to go ahead and look at the Curry County order and bring that back on the 13th for signature,
Roads.
I'm happy to do that. What I am
Oh, you
looking
did
for,
fix this. Thank you. Okay, I see it right there.
Yeah.
Great.
what I am looking for is approval or vote on signature in support of the Douglas County reopening plan so that we can preface what we're working on with our support of that and kind of grow from there.
Terrific. Okay. Hang on. Did you have, somebody over here had a hand up?
Nope.
Council Huddle?
No, just the same question as Commissioner Pash, that hadn't seen the final version to, weigh in and that kind of stuff. And since we're going to get it, that'll be fine.
So can we get these three attachments in a simple email, like during lunch or something?
We print them out and deliver them to our places
That'd
in
be
the next
fine.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
And send those to
Great.
you as soon as I'm back at the office,
Okay.
my office.
So I don't think you're done yet. We have 12 minutes before we go into executive session. But Commissioner Rhodes, you had something you wanted to add, please.
Yes, I just would like to request that the board maybe consider one word different in there instead
Okay.
of just economic, social economic, because this has much bigger impacts than just economic for our county.
So can we add that, board? Do we have a consensus there?
Let's look, can we look, where are we at there, George?
It's actually in there with some statistics, behavioral and social impacts. I just had to separate that because the whereas got a little lengthy when I tried to group them all in. And Commissioner Rhodes, I'm more than happy to copy you on the email I send to the commissioners if you would like. Okay.
Coordinator Madison, if there's a place that you can add it for just good emphasis, fine. If not, I'll leave that up. We can leave that up to you.
Would you please review the document and then decide what that looks like? I believe you'll find what we need is necessary.
Remind me
or
again.
What's necessary is already there. If you open the Curry County order and you go to the second page, or at the bottom of the first page, scroll down. This is...
Oh, yes, okay. Here
This
we
is the wrong document, incorrect document.
go. Okay. I'll take the responsibility for being wrong on that.
Oh, actually, let's see, can you reopen the Curry County order, Commissioner? Yeah, okay, so here we are. If you scroll down, you'll see that we've got scroll down just a little bit, please. Okay, so here's where we talk about the economic securities with some percentages, and if you scroll down a little more, we go into law enforcement, behavioral health and social consequences, with the impacts of suicide and depression, and also the impact that has made on mental health providers, law enforcement, and citizens.
Good word.
So I would welcome any additional input outside of what's there once you've reviewed that document.
Commissioner Rhodes, did you want to add anything in addition?
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd sent some wordsmithing along. We refer to coronavirus in here, and I think everywhere where it says coronavirus, it should say COVID-19. COVID-19 is very specific to what's going on now. Coronavirus is a wide range of different illnesses. So I really think that this is very specific to COVID-19.
Okay, I agree, and I had one citizen remind me of that just not too long ago, more than once, actually. Coordinator Madison?
Thank you. And so initially when Commissioner Rhodes did suggest that change, and then learning that we do have new versions of that coronavirus infiltrating with infection, I felt that it'd be more appropriate that we use coronavirus, as it's no longer just the COVID-19.
You need to elaborate on that just a little bit. I want to make sure you're not
I can
referencing
elaborate on it.
the new strain.
Right, so,
It's not in Oregon yet, as far as we know.
well, it's in California, so it's here, and we
Okay.
probably just don't know about it yet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not
that's
sure
right.
how accurate those PCR tests will be in regards to how much is here, but we do have a new strain. I believe there's currently 7 or 8, and now this makes 8 or 9. And so coronavirus in itself kind of covers all of those strains, where COVID-19 is more specific to the initial strain that brought on this level of restrictions. And I could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
So we're going to bring this back after executive session. It'll be our first item to regroup, correct?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, all right. So do you need anything else on this?
I don't, just thank
Okay.
you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Terrific work, terrific work. Commissioner Pash?
No, Ms.
Director-
Madison answered the question. So I just, that's why it's called COVID-19, because there's so many strains of it. And the new strain is in California now, and they're expecting that it's actually here. They just haven't tested for it yet.
And I think that's a good point. I was afraid you wouldn't say that. Weren't going to say that, but it's good that you did. Director Rickert?
Nothing.
You're okay? Council Huddle?
Yeah, nothing further.
Good. You're okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
So
you.
let's take, we got just a few minutes here, and we'll be back precisely at 11 o'clock for an executive session. So we're just going to recess our general meeting time. It is 10:54. Any further discussion? Time for the roll call, Mr.
Commissioner Pash,
Aye.
Vice Chair Herzog,
Aye.
Chair Boyce,
Yes.
motion carried unanimously.
Meet everybody back here, 1:15. Thank you.
You.
Thanks.
Everybody except you.
Yeah.
We'll put this up here.
Yeah, thank you. You're in your keep already.
Yeah.
Before we get into the, I think we're still on item 7C, or we might have finished that. Can we have a recap on just the loose ends that we left, that we've, the items today that we're either going to go to another meeting or that we needed to come back and do today? I know we had one letter that we wanted to support for Coordinator Sam Steele and Coordinator Byerland. Where are we on the economic sanctuary reopen? Just a reminder, is that some, you want me to come back to you, Staff Jesuits, you got a little time? What's your thoughts there?
The motions we passed?
No, just if we got any loose ends from any of the agenda items that we need to be reminded.
Well, Mr. Byerland will be giving us an update
Good?
on,
Okay.
well, not an update, he's going to just correct some, excuse me.
Didn't you move to approve it
Correct
as
some
amended?
figures. And,
John Jesuit, hang on, we're going to come back to you. Council Huddle?
Sorry, I thought you moved to approve that as amended, and he's going
We've
to
already
shoot it
done
off.
it.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
And then Summer sent you something at lunch to look at, to reconsider later today. It was on your email at lunch.
And on
she
the
said.
update for the other thing you had was the county working from home policy It is a motion, and you actually voted yes. It was a motion carried unanimously to let people continue to work from home.
So do we need an update
Per
from that?
their department heads.
So do we need an update from that? Next meeting, or we just leave that alone for now? Everybody's happy with the production and the safety factor, all the above?
That's how you left the meeting an hour and a half ago. You're saying that let's leave it alone for now and readdress it sometime in the future, so.
When was that, Chris? When?
This was just a couple of weeks, December 2nd,
Okay.
so a month ago.
It was also, it was voted on for the department heads to decide on December 18th.
Right.
That's the
Right.
approved minutes.
Oh, that's what you gave here at the places? That's November 18th minutes. So that shows the vote.
Yeah.
The last page.
Okay.
And then this is the vote for the continued,
There you go.
let the department heads continue to make the decision,
And that's the date, please?
December 2nd. So if you want to bring it back in a month?
No, that's good to know. So it's not November 18th, not December 18th, it is December excuse me. Go ahead.
December 2nd. You didn't get this?
Yeah, yeah. I just didn't read it yet.
Very first page.
Okay.
Minutes dated.
Yep.
What date?
Oh, okay, December 2nd?
No, was it?
Oh, it was November 18th meeting.
Were they approved December 2nd? Is
was
that what?
approved
why that's
December
dated?
2nd,
Okay.
yes.
Approval date, yeah, I'm sorry.
Good work, gentlemen, good work. So that helps a lot. Anything else that we need to reference, or looks like we're okay? Any other questions, Commissioner Herzog?
I got a question. Have you guys ever talked about old business, having a agenda item, old business, and, you know, sometimes it's on agendas, and I think you guys have probably seen it.
Yes, I don't know if that's a government parliamentary procedure, but I think it should be on there, and I'm supposed to bring that back to the board at some point with the, the agenda sequence.
Yeah, what did you, there was a action taken, and who, it's just a thought. Is it something?
I'll put it on, and you can give it to Staff Jesuit, you can take a look at it, and, no, I think that's a good idea. Good.
But it had to be unanimous, good idea.
What do you actually mean?
Well, anything that you said you were going to do and maybe didn't, and just to follow up to make sure it got done?
So, boy,
That's kind of where I was coming from,
Is that too deep?
I think this helps.
Might be a little deep for government.
well, I don't know about that.
It wasn't a complaint.
I think that might be, first of all, I don't know that that's on today's agenda to talk about, but I certainly think that's a fair topic to talk about, but just,
Let's talk about it, yeah.
would you do it right now on the fly, or
No, I was
bring it
just
up under,
wondering.
you could bring it up under commissioner comments and make a suggestion or something.
Yeah, I
so.
think that's fine. Good job, and we will, we'll spend some time on that and see if we want to do some additional refinement, and that was what I was trying to evolve our agenda
Yeah, the
program
other day?
earlier. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, that day was a whirlwind, yeah.
So where are we on, is it item 7D then?
You're the board chair. Yes.
In fact, it's highlighted, I don't know why.
Imagine that, because it was a late entry.
Okay.
It's the amendment. It wasn't on the original agenda, so it
Oh, okay.
put on as an amendment.
I'm getting there, guys. Well, I've got some information to read. What I've asked the board to do a couple of times, put $10,000 on the table as an investment. I'll read some information. We've had public testimony concerned that this is too much money. Of course, I've disagreed with that. So here's what we got yesterday. Council Huddle, by the way, thank you for working on the contract refinement. So it is $150 an hour. Rachel Maddock-Hughes and her staff are excited to move forward. The attachment that Council Huddle and myself sent was, she said, good. And then she talks about the hourly rate, but moving forward. all clients at that $150 an hour. I understand that some of your council may be concerned. Please let them know at the last 9 months, we brought in either awarded or pending awards at $10 million for our clients. Somebody asked about, I think we've discussed this before, the two specific counties that I'm familiar with that have used her services. In fact, council huddle on the second of the 4 meetings we've had regarding this, correct me if I'm wrong, was a Lincoln County Council said, yeah, this has really been good for our county. Is that fair to say?
Pretty sure it was Lincoln County.
Thank you. And then Lynn County, I know all three commissioners there well, and they, in all honesty, have not followed up lately, but their initial program was good. She's willing to come down here and help us. The issue I have is we have not had a county grant writer for a long time, and I don't want it to be somebody free. I don't want it to be somebody that isn't, this is a good system. The $10,000 is a small investment. It's a hole in our ship that we have failed the 4 years I've been here to properly address. There's a lot of funds out there, and I'm going to read one more that she sent. First of all, there are opportunities in the grant funding, not just one. Here we go. Happy New Year. I wanted to reach out to let you know that right now, Business Oregon has a pot of funding of up to $500,000 for small business grants. Man, I can think of 10 right off the top of my head that could apply, that we could help, that we could keep open for a little bit longer. Do you have interest in applying for this? Question mark. Sherry, who's her assistant, and I could not apply for you, but then also work to set up an application process. I believe you'd have a partner with a local bank to do the actual grant, but this could bring in significant funding for the small businesses in Curry County. Because many counties just got an influx of funding from the state, there may not be as much competition for these dollars as normal. So I take that under the category of recommendation. If you're interested, I'd like to set up a call with your local Business Oregon rep. I don't need to spend any more time on this. I'm going to really request the board give this a serious consideration. We don't have to pay the $10,000 until her company actually earns it. And I hope it would start a really good relationship. I've asked many times. I've also asked board on Stan Foster and Laura James from Park Resources, and I left them on your desk, and this is, I think, fair to say it's related to the Sequoia matter. Might be something she could look into and work with Park Resources until we can get our own grant writer. And someday, that's still my vision, my hope. From Mr. Foster, dated yesterday. And he knows he's going to get my attention when he says firefighting equipment opportunity and the money that's available there. And then the other one he sent was an opportunity for local schools. You may want to share, since Curry County is one of their priorities. So I know you just got that today. I'm not asking for action on this. I just want you to know that this is a company that come highly recommended from Gary Milliman when he was the city administrator of Brookings, and he encouraged me to stay the course and be determined to use this company because of their reputation. I think you've heard me say they also are very consistent and helpful to Port of Port Orford, so I followed that pretty closely. And but I would like to just keep this on the long-term approach of review and see if we could have a grant writer in our office at some point that works with Park, or maybe it's a connection between Sequoia Resources to connect with Park Resources, PARC. So we have a contract before us with Park. We've again, council had good work. Would this take some of the pressure off? I heard somebody say today that one of our employees got hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants. I am totally unaware of that. Shame on me if that's accurate. But we do have some capable people here. And, this goes under my general somewhat appreciation of contracting out with small businesses for some of the services that we need. And I don't think we do enough of that. That's not to in any way say the employees can't, but it is part of a joint or mutual system that I think has real benefit. And I want to say to the public, it is my view that in the last 4 years, we have literally lost thousands of dollars because we have not had a process to follow through with this. Heartbreaking to me, because it could have been different. And I've been a minority commissioner for a long, long time, so sometimes it's hard to get that second vote. And so, yeah, I see. Thank you.
Okay.
So yes, on a three-member board, but I think now's the time to move forward. Welcome. I see you, Economic Coordinator Madison just walked in. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. If you don't
Oh,
mind.
did you have a question?
You said I see you.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were pointing to
No.
acknowledge her. Thank you. I apologize.
Actually, I will defer to Ms. Madison in a minute, but this is like the fourth time that this has been brought up before the board. My comments on it are, I think the fees are exorbitant, $150 an hour. I believe is exorbitant. The board has voted on this, I believe, 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure on the exact number, and it's been a no. We have had other people offer to do these for free, and as Mr. Barnes stated earlier, and/or $50 an hour, and he stated he's never been refused a grant. So to have someone of his qualifications, which you may not know his qualifications, they speak for themselves. If you saw his resume, you would be, I would hope, very impressed on his resume. So, but as far as not knowing of any other grants that have been collected, I'll let Ms. Madison speak to that because you might have misqualified something as a grant.
I'm not
you
sure
wanna
what,
defer to
I'm
her?
not sure. I actually came in with a comment separate from.
Well, the
everybody.
CARES Act money and all that money that went to the restaurants. So that's basically all basically.
Well, we all, okay, I'm going to just let you speak to that. It was said earlier today that you've got hundreds, this is a direct quote, hundreds of thousands of dollars of grants for this county. So I just told the board before you walked in that I'm unaware of specific grants. I'm certainly aware of the CARES relief, and I have been very complimentary of your efforts on that and worked very closely with you. We have been good bird dogs, very good bird dogs, if that helps. Well, please go ahead.
Sure, so thank you. The state did decide to designate funding to each county with a base rate and then the balance depending on their population. And so the county was recipient of that funding, and I did assist in getting that processed. But it was money that was received to the county. I didn't have to apply for that necessarily, but I know that the county was eligible.
Yeah, as all 36 counties were.
I would assume so.
Yeah, but we saw a chart that started from, that listed all of them. You know, it started off with a $500,000 base, and then it was contingent on population. So
Yeah, I didn't count up
I don't
the
want to
counties.
I don't want to take away from the effort you put on that. That's the bottom line. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, that's fine. I really didn't do a whole lot, to be honest. So, so I do have a thought that maybe we could look at, instead of making a yes or no decision, maybe we look at the opportunity to work or contract out a statistician per se, because somebody that's knowledgeable in writing a grant for wildfires is not necessarily going to be the same person that's going to be qualified with the knowledge of writing a grant for juvenile recidivism. So if we had somebody that we could contract that would be the keeper of statistics that apply to so many different kinds of grants, that might cut down the staff time required to actually complete a grant, and then we're showing some consistency in the data provided. Just a thought there.
Good, don't leave.
Okay.
Okay. So, did that get qualified for you now, Commissioner?
Mhm.
Thank you. So you said the $150 an hour is exorbitant? Or that's your opinion, I mean?
My opinion, yes.
Okay, so, and we could have somebody do it for free. I'm not interested in supporting Mr. Barnes because there's been tremendous controversy, some very discontented for 2 years of, it makes it really tough to try and work with somebody. Is he capable? Frankly, I have no doubt. But we are looking at a real team effort in our county, and I think that's the direction we got to go. It's got to be based on mutual respect. It's got to be based on tolerance for differing views. It can't be based on negativity. So that's not an option. These are professional companies, okay? They are well qualified. They are well referenced. They are well recommended. And so last week, you had an opportunity, Commissioner Pash, to say, no, don't bring it back a fifth time. We had Council Huddle go ahead and follow through with the work, and now you're saying you're not interested in that. So I'm hoping I can get a motion. I've clarified that the $10,000 that we're putting on this is an investment. Our staff is spread very thin. Her company doesn't get paid till she actually does work. She comes highly recommended to other counties that I've asked for your trust because I've worked with them closely on a lot of different issues important to Oregon and around the state. And so the amount of money we spend way above and beyond $150 an hour, I'm just a little disappointed that we would say $150 is exorbitant. And I'll guarantee you, I'll put my reputation on the line. If she says $10 million for other counties, either received or pending, that's $10,000 is nothing of an investment, even if it's just a test period. So I've said enough. I'm ready for motion one way or the other.
Question?
Yes.
Does she get paid after we get, or if we know we get paid, or does she get, how did you word that?
We're basically putting the $10,000 on the table, and the best word I can use is investment. We may not get anything. It's a risk. If we do a risk analysis, it's not a big risk. And I would defer to you, that you could say anything you want to say, of course, and that you may have an opinion. Actually, I don't even know if you've had time to review the Sequoia consulting information.
Yeah, I think I've reviewed it a few months ago. I guess my first concern would be where in the budget would this come from? I don't want it to be the Economic Development Slush Fund.
Okay?
Rightly so.
Anything else, Ms.
No,
Madison?
sir, and
Okay,
thank you for moving this conversation forward.
thank you. Aren't you up later? Okay, thanks again. Commissioner Pash?
I just have a question. As another commissioner here, like myself, concerned about budget issues and overspending, as you've stated so many times in your tenure since I've been here, there's another $10,000 that we're kissing goodbye out the window, and hopefully we get a return from it. I don't feel the risk versus the reward is going to warrant the risk here. It's my opinion. If she were at $60 or $70 an hour, I would consider it, but not at $150 an hour. That's just exorbitant to me. Why somebody can make $150 an hour?
And not be an attorney. Sorry about that dig there.
It's okay, I'm not making $150,000.
I can hear you.
There you go.
Go ahead.
If I can just, so I too heard Dave Barnes say that he would volunteer to write a grant, and right now at this point, I would say if anybody wants to volunteer to help us out, we, and obviously I have no history with Dave Barnes. You met me Monday morning, and it was pleasant, and you did say something that I didn't, but we can agree to disagree, so that's fine. But and I do like the fact that Gary Milliman supported this lady, but I would say if Dave Barnes wants to write a grant, I know Rich Christensen writes grants and gets grants. I think Commissioner Pash, he's got some grants through the road department.
He's done unbelievable.
Yeah, because he's proactive and he's out there grabbing them. I've never written a grant, but I would say let's try to use somebody that is a.
On her way out,
Would you like to be recognized?
please, David Barnes. On her way out the door, Ms. Schmelzer gave me her book that is the Bible of funding organizations in the state of Oregon. And I started looking through it, and there's numerous places in there that grant money for things. I'm working with Walter Sherbarth, the Marine deputy. I've got grant money for him to do things. We're looking at expanding that and trying to get more money coming in through grants for search and rescue. So, it's something that I have experience in and I'm willing to do. I just heard Commissioner Pash mention something, or maybe it was Commissioner Boyce, about grants for firefighting equipment, and I will go find out about that when I get home.
Yeah.
So, like I've said before, I just think it's a bunch of money, and we don't have a lot of money to be throwing around at things. We're not a rich county.
No.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion for Sequoia grant funding to have a minimum of $5,000 to start the process. Second? No second. Motion dies for lack of a second. And that concludes, no, we're on, we on commissioner comments?
Yes.
This is something, I think I'm going first here.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm just going to read the first page. I think this is a very wise way. I hope it's taken that way, of a good direction for the first part of the year. You may not have received this yet, but I'll make sure that you do. It's a Curry County position description. It's 2.5 pages. I'm going to read just the first page. Position summary. No salary level. As determined by the Compensation Committee. Position summary, the position of County Commissioner is an elected, full-time position and responsibility. The 3 commissioners are expected to work hours in excess of the normal business hours established for county employees. County Commissioners, by a majority vote, establish policies, procedures, and direct long-term planning. Specifically, they oversee the following: propose revenue sources, adjust and adopt the budget, set the tax rate, authorize levies, adopt and participate in fiscal policies, expenses, adopt ordinances, establish and appoint advisory boards and committees, participate in the overall business management of the county. They also serve the ceremonial function of the county in representations to the public for the public good and betterment of Curry County and its citizens. The commissioners are the full and final authority of all county affairs, not under authority of other elected county officials. The commissioners serve as the legislative arm of the county as well as the executive and quasi-judicial branches of Curry County government. Commissioners are responsible for planning, formation, and implementation of the annual budget, then adoption. In addition, commissioners represent county concerns before local, state, and national boards and commissions, plural. They serve on federal, state, and local mandated government panels, boards, and commissions with fiscal duties and authority over public monies. Commissioners must always be aware that at various times they play different roles as advocates who strive to advance the legitimate needs of their citizens, as legislators who balance the public interest and private rights in considering and enacting ordinances, policies, orders, and resolutions, and as decision makers who arrive at fair and impartial determinations. The Board of County Commissioners must be aware of their obligation to conform their behavior to standards of ethical conduct that warrant the trust of their constituents. Thank you, Board. Here's something that a friend gave me. It won't take very long to read, but it's really good in a corporate structure or board environment. It's three categories: duty of loyalty, duty of obedience, and duty of care. I'm going to read part of it. The duty of loyalty is one of the primary fiduciary duties for the board of directors of a company that requires them to ensure all the decisions are taken in good faith and in the best interest of the shareholders. The duty of loyalty makes sure a board member is completely loyal to the citizens' interests. They must always act without conflicts of any economic interest and should not take advantage of a corporate opportunity for personal gain. Duty of obedience. The duty of obedience refers to a board member's obligation to remain faithful to the organization's mission statement. Board members have been entrusted by their constituents to ensure that resources are being used to accomplish the organization's stated goals and not being diverted to other purposes. The duty of obedience is the duty to remain faithful and pursue the goals of the organization. In practice, the duty of obedience requires the decision makes to follow the governing documents of the organization and laws applicable to the organization. Duty of care, a legal obligation which is imposed on an individual requiring adherence to a standard of reasonable care while performing any acts that could foreseeably harm others. That's a good start. I'll get you copies. I'll get you a copy of this, Commissioner Herzog. Everything else, I think, will wait 1 second. No, everything else will wait till this afternoon. Commissioner Herzog, you are up next.
I have no update.
Okay, no update, okay. Mr. Pash?
I'm not trying to be funny about this, but I don't need a copy of duty and loyalty. Even being raised in a military family and a Marine, I understand exactly what the words duty, courage, loyalty, all of those words mean. So I thank you for your comments, though. On mine, I would just ask that the board consider this. I know we have a workshop coming up, and it's going to be lengthy. But as far as AGRSs, when we fill out AGRSs, again, I know we've talked about this in the past. It's difficult to plan a meeting and have people sit out here for lengthy periods of time when we have an AGRS that says 5 or 10 minutes and it turns out to be a 30 or 40-minute thing. So I would just ask the board that when we do a presentation, maybe we assign a minimum of 20 minutes to a presentation because you're going to have a 5 or 10-minute presentation, and of course you're also going to have comments on that presentation. So maybe looking forward that we are more mindful of people sitting in the audience, that we are very careful of the times that we put on our AGRSs, and that possibly you consider a 20-minute minimum for a presentation. That's all I have.
Can you clarify 20-minute minimum?
Well, because most presentations are 5 or 10 minutes, and it's a presentation to the board for something in the county. So after the presentation that somebody brings to us, then we're going to want to interact with that person, perhaps a public comment or two about that presentation. I'm just saying, if it's only 15 minutes, that's great.
Well, you just said minimum 20. That's why I was just a little confused. So.
Well, I'm saying to do the AGRS is for someone like JJ to plan our meetings. You know, we can only have so many things in a meeting in a day. So let's say we're going to have 5 presentations today, and then a full consent agenda, and then all discussion and action items. We're not even going to get through the presentations probably until 11 o'clock. So it just helps whoever's setting up the meeting to plan that meeting. And if there's 5 presentations, we might be able to say, you know what, we've got 5 presentations this week, but on our next meeting so far, we've only got 2 scheduled. So would you be willing to move your presentation to the next meeting? And work that way better so that people aren't sitting here for extended periods of time. And again, if a presentation's scheduled for 20 minutes and it turns out to only be 10, that's a good thing. If a presentation's scheduled for 5 or 10 minutes and it turns out this morning, and I'm not picking on Steve because it's not his fault, his presentation was 48 minutes this morning. And it made a lot of people sit here, and people sat in the hallway for an elongated period of time when perhaps we could have helped to cut that down. That's all I'm saying. It's just better planning for everyone.
Okay, anything else?
That's all.
Thank you.
And
So
that's
we've
just a
got,
consideration for the board, that's all.
we've got, 12, 13 minutes, 2 o'clock. Let's have everybody come back just a couple minutes before 2 o'clock. On time, please, thank you. Wait, does anybody else have anything else? I'm sorry. General
adjourned.
session, general meeting for January 6, 2021 is closed. See you at workshop, 2 o'clock. The time is 1:47.